interact with MBA students. That was the concept, but we got underway with this event only in 1992. And why is that? Because that was the first year that we offered the MBA program for resident students. Okay? The objective then is for you, dear students, to gain as much out of the intervention by His Excellency Chen Namchai Siri today. Before I get to requesting Professor John Barnes to do us the honor of introducing the speaker of the day, let me just say this. I'm really happy to see both Brother Martin and Kun Chen Namchai Siri together, because the two of them go back to days at Stanford University. They were both contemporaneous students at Stanford University. And number two, they stayed in the same residence hall at Stanford University. Okay, so just think about that. Okay, and this is a very meaningful gathering for us this afternoon. Brother Martin, you want to say a few words of welcome? Let me ask you to say a few words of welcome to your dear old friend. Or your dear young friend. Brother, I've got the microphone. Just say.
Yeah. Well, good afternoon. I'm very happy to welcome my good friend, Kun Namchai Siri. She used to help me a lot when I was at Stanford, especially with computer, because I used to go to see him how to make use of the computer at the research center, and he helped me. So he's my benefactor, my teacher also. And John Barnes, welcome to this Speaker of the Month speech. I'm most happy and honored that my good old friend of Stanford is here to share us some of his ideas. So, welcome. So, thank you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, yeah. That, dear students, was an ad lib, okay? I never warned brother that I'll ask him to say a few words. Professor Barnes, can you take it from here, sir?
Thanks.
Maybe I'll take this. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, dear respected and admired Rector Emeritus Reverend Brother Martin Komal-Mars, fellow faculty members and my dear students, it is my pleasure and privilege to introduce to you Mr. Chen Namchai Siri, who is President of the Federation of Thai Industries. In reading Kun Chen's CV, I was most impressed to see that he was awarded 3 royal honours by King Bhumibol. The first in 2008 and the last, most recently, in 2015. Mr. Chen comes to us as a past student of Assumption College, Bang Rak, and with experience initially as an engineer, and in his capacity today as chairman of the Federation of Thai Industries. I was also a member of the Federation of Thai Industries, one of their industry clubs back in the early 1990s. And I do encourage all students here today to make the effort to visit the Federation of Thai Industries, and Kun Chen has kindly supported that initiative. If you'd like to visit, they've got a fantastic library on many industries in Thailand and the region. If you can access that, make use of that, and familiarise yourself with their extensive library. And also, when you do take up employment, encourage your employers, if they're not already members of FTI, Federation of Thai Industries, to seriously consider joining that group. Kun Chen will give you a lot more detail about the size and scope, the number of members, the number of different industries, the ranges of industries that comprise FTI. Now, talking upstairs just casually before coming down here, he said, well, I've got a prepared lecture, but it's a lot of data, it's a bit dry. And I said to him, just improvise, just be very natural, right? And talk from your heart, talk from your experience. And I think this is really what you want to see, because the data you can access from their website, okay? So without further ado, I would like to welcome Kun Chen Namchai Siri, President of the Federation of Thai Industries, to come forward. And he's going to talk today on Thai industry competitiveness within the Asian Economic Community. Please, welcome.
So, we're going to show the...
If you would like, yes.
So we do have few tables. Well, good afternoon. Good. Hello. Yes. Okay. Good afternoon, dearest Brother Martin. I'm Professor John, Professor Glenn, dear students, participants. I'm very honored to be here, and actually the fact that Brother Martin has given the honor of attending my talk is enough to make me nervous. Actually, I would like to say that there are so many things that I have in my mind to talk about, especially if you want to consider that the people gathering here is going to be the future of our business communities. So that is very important, because we just talked, Professor John and I, that the technology that is around us today and that is moving ahead today is making the distinction between generations very obvious. They think differently, they have different lifestyles, they have different choice of career, they have different choice of education. These days, I try to think that the education system is rather rigid and insufficient. I don't mean Assumption University, but in general. It seems that they're too rigid, because they're still not moving quick enough to respond to the change in the lifestyle, in the change in the technology development. So I think it's best not to adhere to the information that I'm going to show you. Is just going to be a picture of the past. So we should be communicating about what is coming in the future. So, are we on yet? Still not on. Okay, I'll just move ahead. The other regions, you can see that they're different according to these figures. Japan will be faring rather weak because of the stagnant economy that they have gone through so far. The United States is going to improve. Europe is rather stagnant, and China is going steady at about 6.7, 6.5%. Actually, they were saying that it should be about 6.9, but we'll have to see how that works. For different other houses, you can see that the regional growth rate for, first of all, the emerging and developing Asia is about 6.7 in 2015. In this year, it would be about 6.4. The ASEAN 5 is at about 4.9. The developing Asia is 5.7, and the rest of the figures are on the slide. You can see East Asia Pacific about 5.7. So altogether it's about 5 to 7%. Now the South Asia is a little bit better because of the India's growth rate is quite high. India is actually last year it was about 7.2, if I'm not mistaken, about 7.2 for an economy that with that big population to grow by 7.2 is quite remarkable. This is Thailand, and you can see that if you discount the drop in the fourth quarter of 2011, that was when the big flood of Thailand happened. You can see that the fourth quarter of 2011 and the fourth quarter of 2012, they should be normalized. If you take both figures and then plot median, it would go somewhere between 5 or 6%. So that is the what happened. Now, in 2013 to 2014, it dropped a little bit, but after that, the growth rate for Thailand is rather steady at about 3%, 3 to 3.5%. Now, for the sectoral representation, you can see that the quarter figures was rather it's quite similar, and it's not deviate much from the average. You can see that the exports is at 3.4% in the third quarter this year, and actually for the whole year the figure has come out to about 0.4% growth. Now that reversed the trend of the past 3 years, because during the past 3 years we recorded negative growth for the whole 3 years. So this year it bucked the trend, and we expect next year to be slightly better. At the Joint Standing Committee for Commerce, Industry and Banking, and that is the three private organization that is the main party that the government is talking to regarding economic matters. We are expecting an export growth of about 1 to 3% in 2017. So we should be somewhere in the ballpark. The Ministry of Commerce is expecting 2.5 to 3.5%, slightly more optimistic than the Joint Standing Committee. Now this is the growth in the agricultural sector and the manufacturing sector. You can see that the growth of Thailand is rather small. We recorded less than 5% in the agricultural sector, and for the manufacturing sector is around 2%. So you can safely say that we have a lost decade. During the past 10 years, the growth has been very small. It's been very slight. There's not much new investment in the sector for the manufacturing, and for agriculture. It depends very much on the price level of the commodities. Commodities being the rice, the rubber, and tapioca, and some sugar cane, and all those. These are the four main crops of Thailand. And the price has been, well, fluctuating, but rather depressed in general. This is the growth rate of the fixed capital formation, and that also tells you a story that we have a very weak investment during the past 2 or 3 years because of the slow investment in the private sector, and for the government as well, because the government infrastructure projects has not become very active during the past 2 or 3 years. So the figure for investment is quite low. contributing to the growth, the small growth of the GDP. That's the volume of the export. You have already seen that, and because it was quite widely publicized in the daily news, so I will skip that. And the latest figure, as I told you, is about 0.4% in the plus. So that was actually higher than expected, because the Joint Standing Committee was looking at a figure of -2 to 0% at the beginning of the year. And then we slowly revised it to about -1 to 0. We still maintain the 0 because we didn't expect it to turn up to be a positive figure. But as it turned out, it's quite good. It's more than expected. So next year we were looking at 1 to 3%. Now the export markets, you can see from this figure that the export market of Thailand this is actually another plus, another strong point of Thai economic performance, and that is because we have a very wide and diverse market for our export. We don't rely too much on any particular market, unlike some of our competitors. They rely very much on, for example, the United States market or the European market. But for us, it's about 10% each for these three major markets: Japan, USA, and EU. Now, the exports are becoming more concentrated in the ASEAN countries. As you can see, it's about 25%. That's 1/4 of our exports. And you can see that on the left side, there's another 43%, which is quite diverse. We have a very wide variety of our export markets. So this is the reason why the Thai export is quite resilient to changing in the world economic situations. For example, the rise of the oil price, the drop of the oil price, it affects us, but not as strongly as other countries. Now, this is the index that we publish monthly at the Federation. We survey our members, different size company, different region, because we have our in the Federation, we have our chapters in almost all the provinces in Thailand. So we cover almost all areas of Thailand. And this is what we get from the survey, the confidence, the sentiment index of the industrial operators. You can see that towards the end of the year, we have a rising trend. Working? We have a rising trend around here. So that is good, and that tells you that the situation is coming back. The export is getting better. Especially the domestic market is getting better because the confidence index is improving. Another evidence that the domestic market is improving is the sales of automobiles, especially pickup trucks, lorries or trucks, big ones, and also the motorcycles. Now, if these three categories of vehicles are selling well, that means that because all these three, they're used in economic activities related applications. So with these three rising, that means that the domestic economy must be picking up. And that also coincides with the increase in the price level of the commodities that I just mentioned. So it reflects into the purchasing power of the farmers. And farmers is about 40% of the Thai population. So they carry a very high weight in the purchasing power. And once that sector has increased their purchasing power, that means that the commodities, the goods in Thailand will be selling quite well. So that is another good sign for carrying on the momentum into this year. This is also the consumer confidence index. You can see that it went up a little bit until September, and then it went down 2 months consecutively from October. And we know what's the cause of that, but we expect that to slowly abate, and it will rise further in the next few months. For this stability, I think Thailand has a very strong fiscal stability because of our long time trade surplus. We have a very strong trade surplus, even though the last month, December last year, we had a rise of about 6% in the export, but at the same time we have an increase of about 10% in the imports. Not quite on the same level, but if you compare the figure, we still have a surplus of close to $1 billion US dollars. So that is still quite good. And the foreign exchange reserve that the Bank of Thailand is managing is still up to about 10 months of imports. That means that if you don't gain any foreign exchange from selling, from export, from selling of goods, from tourism, from investment or whatever, you can still survive for 10 months. That is quite decent for the economy of our size. The other thing is the inflation rate. We still manage it quite well. We're still down in the 1%, 2% level, which is quite good. The unemployment rate is also quite low for Thailand, especially since we still rely heavily on the foreign workers. Public debt is still at the respectable 42.7%, and even though the government is planning a deficit budget for this year, I think we're still within the range of less than 50% of our GDP, so we're still okay. Current account I already mentioned. So stability is good. And the currency comparison between Thai baht and others, you can see that we're smack right somewhere in the middle. And that is good because it's quite stable. Although the exporters would like it to weaken a little bit from that, because we are looking at our neighbors, our competitors. Most of them are quite weak. For example, our neighbors Cambodia, Bangladesh, and even Singapore. Singapore's currency is quite weak. India, South Korea, these are all. Malaysia is very weak. So these are all our competitors. And so, even though we did depreciate against the U.S. dollar, but our competitors' currency is still depreciate a little bit more. And that is another reason why the exporters are still not quite happy, but we're still doing okay. Border trade is something that we need very much, and it's getting better. And with this as a special economic zone along the border, that should be able to enhance the trade between Thailand and its neighboring countries. The original idea of setting up the industrial estate along the border area, we as a representative of the manufacturing sector had already voiced our not quite good our disagreement with the government's policy, because one of the reasons is that if you go across the border, there's already similar facilities over there, and this is something that the government is, I think they're reconsidering. But we said we just don't want them to concentrate on manufacturing in those particular areas. Just concentrate on logistics, transport, distribution of goods, and perhaps some service sector. For example, tourism. You can set up a place where people can cross from neighboring countries into Thailand and relax a day or two and then go back, things like this for tourism and perhaps some health care as well, because you don't have to advertise these things because it's already a presumption that the quality of the healthcare in Thailand would be quite acceptable. So these kind of things you don't need to do much because you already have very strong facilities already. So these border areas should be concentrated on these areas, these services. But the border trade for commodities and for goods, for consumer products, we expect it to increase, and all these products for Thailand, for the Thai products, we already have a very strong reputation and very good image. We get some premium out of the prices for these products. So the facilitations of the sales or the marketing of these products should be promoted. The economic outlook, well, according to this one, as I mentioned already, the JSC, the Joint Standing Committee, at the bottom line there, we're looking at 3.5 to 4% this year, with the carryover of momentum from this year, from the last quarter last year to this year. And because the other reason is that we view the oil price as being rather stable, because we have seen the bottom last year at about $30 per barrel, and it went up to about 40. Now it's standing at about $50 to $55 per barrel. If it goes up, it will go to about 60 to 65, not more than that, because we think that at the 65 level, the shale oil and shale gas in the United States will come out, because that's the cost of production of these commodities. So we see a limit of the oil price at about $65 per barrel, and the bottom should be around $45 to $50. So oil price should have a very, very good stability this year. And with a stable oil price, the price of commodities should also be quite stable. Why? Because there are many commodities that is related to the petrol-based commodities. For example, rubber. The natural rubber is used in conjunction with the synthetic rubber in many applications. And that's why, when the oil price came down, rubber price went almost to nothing. They say it's about 3 kilos for 100 baht. Now it's close to 80. So our plantations, our rubber plantations are doing quite well. And we expect that condition to prevail this year. So the domestic economy and domestic purchasing power should be quite good. And this is the forecast. Again, it's for a National Economic and Social Development Board, it's about 3 to 4%. We're quite close on that. And for the Bank of Thailand, they're looking at 3.2%. And the Joint Standing Committee, we are at 3.5 to 4%. Now, the factors impacting the Thai economy in 2017, the Thai economy in the second half, that was passed already, so this is rather old. But I'll concentrate on the 2017 to 2021. The growth engine actually for the border special economic zone. I already mentioned that we don't concentrate on that because it's not actually for the manufacturing sector. We concentrate more on the EEC, the Eastern Economic Corridor. That is supposed to be the second Eastern Seaboard project. The reason why we support this EEC is that all the facilities are there. There are already many infrastructures ready, and it should open the way to a good logistics system, because we are going to have 3 commercial airports. First, of course, is Don Mueang. Second one is Suvarnabhumi, and the third one, the new one, would be for air cargoes. That is the what's the name, the last one? Yeah, near Pattaya, Sattahip. Yeah, Sattahip area. Yeah. So if we can link the 3 airports together, that should be quite efficient for the logistics system, especially for the cargo, for the air cargo. Now the factors that could have some impact is, of course, President Donald Trump. He's already sworn in, and his speech at the swearing in is quite disturbing for many advocates of the open trading system of the world, the multilateral trade pacts. So that is something that we need to follow, that we need to closely monitor, because that is something that is against all the factors that we have done in the past. But one thing good though, because he has already canceled the U.S. participation in the TPP, and that is a dilemma that Thailand is facing. Because in joining the TPP, of course, we would have to accept a number of conditions that were agreed already. We don't have the right to alter, to change any of those. But of course, we could ask for a period of time for adjusting. But now that the U.S. is out of the TPP, and I'm not quite sure that they can bring in China to replace the United States. So right now, Thailand is out of the dilemma of having to adjust or to modify some of our sectors in order to comply with the TPP. It should buy us some time to restructure our manufacturing, our production system. So that is another good thing. But of course, we would have to be very careful on the protectionism sentiment of President Donald Trump. I think we should be concentrating on exporting raw materials or semi-finished raw materials to the United States, because in that sense, you're not taking jobs away from the American, but you also enhance some manufacturing, some production process to be done in the U.S. But any of those exist right now is another matter, because the United States will have to go into their country to look at the different production facilities that they still have. I don't know if they have the essential facilities to make true the president's wish. So that is something that remains to be seen. The world competitiveness, of course, Thailand dropped a little bit. I think this year, the 2016 was better. We are still waiting for this year's result, but we have actually for this competitiveness scoreboard, we have been working very closely with the government, especially in the ease of doing business, because in other factors, I think we have done quite well, but the ease of doing business is something that we can work together with the government to improve, because we do have some wish lists, and the government is quite accommodative to alter, to improve on those. Although there are still a number of obstacles, and those are the rules and regulations, especially the legal system. At the joint, the private-public committees, we have set up a unit called the regulatory guillotine. Guillotine, for cutting off the head. And the committee on the regulatory guillotine is to search for the outdated rules, regulations, and laws in order to abolish all these outdated laws. That should make the process, the government process in many things more streamlined, and we should be able to design some mechanism to facilitate the new businesses, especially for startups. Because we at the Federation, we also talk to startups, because although the startups are not part of our members, but we talk to them because they are potential members. And the thing that they told us was that they don't need our money, because we said that, well, if you want venture capital, we might be able to provide some, because there are a number of members who are interested to invest in the startups. But they said that no, they can find that from on their own, but they want us to be able to put forward their case with the government, especially for those obstacles that they found with the regulations and laws and everything. So that is something quite interesting, because we didn't expect that, but they view us as the channel to fight for them, on this change of the laws and regulations. So, this is the detail. You can read that by yourself. I'm leaving this copy here, so you can see that we score not very well on the especially the labor market efficiencies, as I remember, the business sophistication and innovation. These are the three areas that we score worst. So that is something. These are the areas that the Federation is trying to improve. And I will mention to you later on what kind of mechanism and organization that we have to work on those. Yes. So these are the figures of the competitiveness and the change in rank. You can see that the overall still remains the same. It hasn't changed from 2016 to 17, but we think that the middle of this year, which is about in June, we should be able to give them a new set of input so that we expect to have a better ranking next time. Now, the AEC blueprint, which is the topic of today's talk, is that the AEC is a highly integrated and cohesive economy. That is one of the agenda. We want the AEC to be a highly integrated and cohesive economy. That is why we have a pillar there is about the equitable development level. Competitive, innovative, and dynamic ASEAN, yes, and enhanced connectivity and sectoral cooperation, resilient, inclusive, people-oriented, and people-centered ASEAN, and to be a global ASEAN. That is something that is the pillar, the picture of ASEAN that we wish it to be. This is going to be the AEC blueprint. Now, the trade numbers between Thai and ASEAN is getting better and better. You will see that previously, in 2017, the total was 100 billion. Now, the 2016 is actually it's dropped slightly, but in the sense that the last few years, the trade between Thailand and ASEAN has dropped slightly, but not much. You can see that the 2016 figure was 11 months. So if you go the whole year, it would be slightly less than 2013. But that goes along with the world economic and also the Thailand export figure. But you can see that this figure is quite high on, if we compare with the other regions of the world. This goes to different sectors, different type of exports. We have the motor cars parts, chemical products, machinery and parts, polymer, automatic data processing machines, computers, iron and steel, precious stones and jewelry, electronic integrated circuits, air conditioning. Well, air conditioning is the Thai air conditioning industry is quite good. actually they are quite competitive. They are one of the few industrial sectors that are really owned by the Thais. For other industries, for example, the automotive, the major automobile assemblers, foreign, especially Japanese. But the support industry, the parts, automobile parts, these are majority owned by Thai. So when we promote the integration of different industrial clusters, we have to take into account the support industry as well. So you can see that the different type of machineries, different type of goods that we export, they are more or less the same weight across the board. And actually, for others, you can see that is the largest figure. So again, this points to a very well diverse and well balanced export components of the Thai industry. This is also the top 10 of the Thai manufacturing products and exports in ASEAN market. Yes, you can see they're almost the same figure as the previous slide. This is Thailand's imports now from ASEAN markets. You can see that we also import quite a number of products, quite a number of different products from our neighbors and ASEAN partners. And it's quite diverse as well. You can see that the largest is probably Malaysia at 30%, and the rest is quite diverse, quite well distributed. Now, the potential products of Thailand in ASEAN, actually, for Cambodia, rubber, animal feed, construction materials, food, drinks, textile, shoes, motorcycles. Actually, motorcycles is very, very popular. The Thai motorcycle is quite well received by the public in the neighboring countries. Actually, they are very much the same. Vietnam, as they are increasing their manufacturing sector, what they need is probably the raw material. So you can see that the sugar, rubber, and plastic beads, these are the products that they look for when they deal with Thailand. Also, they also need automotive, furniture, air conditioning, and fruits from Thailand. So these are more or less the same, except for Muslim countries. We concentrate on the halal food products. That is something that we plan to concentrate on, because halal, the Muslim population in ASEAN is quite large. I think it's more than half. So if we can capture that market, it would be quite a boon for the food sector in Thailand. And actually, just recently, there's been very good news that Indonesia has already accepted the Thai halal certification. Actually, we are looking forward. We are looking more than that, because I just mentioned to our food industry that if you concentrate on halal, don't just concentrate in ASEAN. There are also other areas that you can export, especially, for example, Russia. There's a very big Muslim population in Russia, and they are in need of our food products. So that is something that will be a very good opportunity for Thai products. Product for export to increase efficiencies, of course. There are cassava products, fabrics, plastic beads, corn fabric from Myanmar, and especially actually for Myanmar, the construction material is something also that is has a big potential. Rubber, thread, and steel. You can see that all these are mostly raw materials for further processing, because the garment industry is one of the industry that moved the fastest. They were the first few companies to move actually not move, but they just expand to other countries. Because, of course, if you say that, well, because these countries has a cheaper labor cost, that is partly true, especially if you deal with low-end products. But if you deal with high-end products, I have a friend who has many plants. He has expanded to Laos. Actually, he moved from close to Bangkok to upcountry. That's the first step, to Chayapum. And then from Chayapum, he went on to Laos, and he went on also to Myanmar and Cambodia. Now he's looking forward to go to Myanmar, I mean Cambodia and Vietnam. And now he's looking forward to Myanmar. And according to him, he said that the best performing plants of all his plants is the one in Thailand, making the most profit, the best productivity and everything, even though the labor cost is much higher than the other plants. But productivity is the answer. So this again was the topic that I gave a talk this morning at the labor ministry, not the labor ministry, but it's a joint seminar between the labor division of the Federation of Thai Industries with the Ministry of Labor this morning. Topic of the talk was productivity and how we can improve productivities, the labor, especially labor productivities, in the era of Industry 4.0. Now I'll come to the Industry 4.0 later on. Foreign direct investment, that again is some figures that you can refer to. Products, yes, we already covered that. Investment opportunities, of course, there are many opportunities to, but for Thai people, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to urge them to go outside Thailand, especially if you want to set up an office in some other countries, not just ASEAN, some other countries, and you ask them to move there, sometimes move their families there. It would be very cumbersome, and the problem with the lifestyle, the food, the facilities, it's always a big issue with the Thai workers. But I think other countries moving to Thailand is the reverse. It's much better. So in any case, it is. We need to improve a little bit on that to have the Thai entrepreneurs become more familiar with moving outside Thailand and to try to find opportunities outside Thailand, because if you look at the growth rate in Thailand, it would be around 3 to 5%. They're talking about new normal, and they say that about 3.5%, 4% is new normal for Thailand. But I still don't agree to that figure, because I think that the 3 to 4% is just the current figure that we have not improved our efficiencies. If we can improve our efficiencies, especially between private sector and the government, in coming up with the mechanism or any kind of framework that would allow the private sector to do more, to improve more, and to become a really global player, the new normal for Thailand would probably be about 5 to 6%. That remains to be seen, but again, that is the figure that I'm basing my optimism on. For adjusting the Thai industry, of course, is to improve the production performance in both the labor and also machinery, and to prepare a strong logistics system. The logistics system in Thailand, the cost of logistics in Thailand is still quite high. Previously, it was about 17 to 18% of the GDP. Now it has come down, but it's still quite high at about 15 to 16%. We need to improve on that. Of course, we need to expand to rail system and to the waterways, especially for inland, for the northern part, the northeastern part, we can probably use the riverway. But for the central part, the eastern part, and also the southern part, I think the best way is to go with the coastal transportation. Coastal transportation, if you build enough jetties and ports along the Gulf of Thailand, I think that should be able to improve the efficiencies and reduce the cost of transportation in Thailand. To find export market, improve process in producing to match the standards. Managing resource to bring the affordable and reliable raw materials from local area, of course. For export market, Thailand has done, I think during the recent years, Thailand has done quite well. The Ministry of Commerce has been very successful in bringing over the Thai entrepreneurs to show their trades in some new markets. For example, in the South America. South American market is very interesting because the level of development is not much far from Thailand. But although the distance is quite far, but still, if you send over the non-perishable items, non-perishable goods, then it's just the same. It takes a little bit longer, but not too much trouble anyway. And so we have been very successful in the South American markets, especially on the automobile parts. I've been there myself. I've been to the factory and the warehouse where they store the automobile parts. Large parts. It's not just small ones, but large parts like the doors, the cap, the hood. All these large parts. They store it over there, and of course it's used for the body shops. Accidents, when accident happens, they change the parts, things like that, and these are all exported from Thailand. So we are doing okay in this part of the world. Another part of the world that is quite interesting and is a hope for this year and the years to come is the Middle East. They have already set up a unit that looks after, meaning the Ministry of Commerce, looks after the what they call MENA, MENA, and that is the Middle East and North Africa. Now they concentrate in this market, and because of the Middle East market has been quite subdued during last year because of the oil price, because of their purchasing power, because they don't have the money. But this year, with the oil price coming up and also stable, we also expect the Middle Eastern market to perform better this year. And if we use that as a stepping stones and go on to North Africa region, that is also another area that is quite promising for the Thai exports. Support from the government, such as improve the tax structure, financial structure, and the currency exchange. Now, the SMEs who are dealing with exports has a lot of choice. They have many financial supports that they can go to. The SME banks, the Exim banks, the government banks, many programs that would support the SMEs to do export business. And so with the instruments, the financial instruments and facilities that they have, especially in Thailand, right now the liquidity is still very high. In the banking system, the liquidity is still very high. That's why we see the interest rate being so low. Previously, if you were in Thailand during the early 1990s, you would be amazed because at that time, MLR, the minimum loan rate was probably about 16, 17%. It's quite amazing we survived that period. But now it's about 5-6%. So actually the liquidity is still very high, and there are money, but you have to be able to to prove that you have the ability to repay your debt. And production network to build economies of scale. Yes, of course, the production network is very important. Now, for Industry 4.0, someone normally they would be confusing between Thailand 4.0 policy and the Industry 4.0. I'm here to clarify that. The Thailand 4.0, they were talking about the economy, the economic models of Thailand since the old time when we rely heavily on the agricultural system. Now, at that time, of course, we exploit or we utilize the abundance and rich, fertile lands of Thailand because we are situated at the river delta, the Mekong, no, the Chao Phraya river delta. And of course, we have land to plant agricultural products, especially rice. So at that time, the economy was really run by agricultural system. So that was Thailand 1.0. The Thailand 2.0 was when we have trades and we start to have industrial products imported into Thailand. And we start to think that we imported so much, we could produce it ourselves. So we created a manufacturing system and landscape to replace some of the imports. Now that is Thailand 2.0. But Thailand 3.0 started when we discovered the natural gas in the Gulf of Thailand. And we think that with the natural gas that we have, which happen to be what we call wet gas, because we have some heavier molecules of the gas in the gas that we have in the Gulf of Thailand, and that's when we think that we have the necessary ingredients for starting up a large-scale industry. We have of course, the energy for the industry, and we also have the raw material for the industry because all these wet gas can produce multiple carbon units, multiple carbon molecules for use in plastics. So we built this Eastern Seaboard projects, and many petrochemical industry was created, and that is when we start to rely very much on exports, because the industry that was created in the aftermath of the Eastern Seaboard has to be a large-scale industry, and we cannot fulfill the production capacity by the domestic markets alone. So we have to go export. Then we run into problems. Of course, the Thailand 3.0 model didn't work anymore because we produce and then we have to sell, and then we have to sell at the lower cost because our cost is not much more competitive than our competitors. So we rethink our economic model, and that brought us to the Thailand 4.0 model, and that is to do less and make more. But in order to do less and make more, we need to put in some technology, we have to put in some creativity, we have to put in some innovations. So that is the model of Thailand 1, 2, 3, and 4.0. Now for the industry, it's totally different. For industry 1, 2, 3, and 4, it was this industry 4.0 was devised by the Germans in 2011 at the Hanover Fair, which is a big industrial fair. They come up with Industry 4.0 because they think that the industry of the world has gone through 3 revolutions already. The first one, of course, is Mr. James Watt, who brought the steam engines into the industry. Previously, it was handicraft, of course. The second generation is when we discovered electricity and motors. And for electricity with motors, we have the conveyor belt to start the what we call the mass production, because then we have very simple standardized products for everyone. Everyone use the same thing. No custom made, but the products can be made cheaply with fairly good quality, and anyone can access. So that is the model of Industry 2.0. The Industry 3.0 starts when we start to have the digital computers. That's when the automation started, and we have automation to take care of a number of tedious work that was previously done by human. So that was the Industry 3.0. So you ask, what is Industry 4.0? I'll show you in a minute. The Industry 4.0 is to help Thai industries in every sector, especially SME, to adapt to global competitive pressures by increasing technological base through the development and integration of enabling technologies. The most important technology that was the key point for the Industry 4.0 is, of course, the digital technology. And the digital technology has made it possible to have the cyber-physical system, the internet. As we can see, each of us have a mobile phone. We connect to our friends, our family members, everyone, through the cyber system. We use the social media program, the applications to send message to our friends and families. Now that gave the idea that why, if people can connect to people, then why can't machine connect to machine? If we can line up all these machines together and let them talk to each other so that they know what the other machines are doing and what they can do to improve the efficiencies. That's the basic idea of the cyber-physical system for Internet of Things. The Internet of Things, of course, the applications, the devices that we are using every day is gradually connected to the Internet. There were some estimates that a few years from now, the number of all the Internet-ready devices that we use in our everyday lives would amount to about 70 billion pieces. 70 billion pieces. And we have population, the world population is about 7 billion. So each of us will have about 10 units, 10 devices in our everyday life. Okay. Of course, right now, people have 1 or 2 mobile phones. Some has the wearable device, the watch, the whatever. And at home, you probably have some air conditioning unit or refrigerators or ovens or garage openers, anything that can be connected to the Internet. The future would be the devices would be even more and would be even more common. So Industry 4.0 is about cyber-physical system, the Internet of Things, the integration, mass customization, and smart factory. Of course, mass customization was talked about, I think, more than 15 years ago. We were saying that mass production is the way of the past because it's no longer respond or answer to the needs of the public or the markets, because each of us would like to have the products custom made to our own, to ourselves. So the idea of mass customization has been floating around for some time, but now with the technology, with the Internet being so common and being the cost of which has come down quite a bit, that makes it very much possible. So Industry 4.0, as you can see here, is to connect on the physical, the cyber-physical system, smart factory, Internet of Things, Internet of Services. The artificial intelligence is used in the factories, integration, mass customization, and the manufacturing execution system. This is something that is between the low level, which is the programs that control the machines, and the ERP. The ERP is the Enterprise Resource Planning Program. MES, the manufacturing execution system, is somewhere in between, and that's the execution part of the machineries. So you need that manufacturing execution system in order to control and execute all the production machinery. Now this is our plan, the Federation of Thai Industry plan, that we would like to introduce what we call the Thailand Industry 2025. That's the target that we would like our members to be able to call themselves Industry 4.0 ready, or they are on the Industry 4.0 already. So in order to do that, we need to improve on a number of things. But most important is the human capital. The human capital, of course, we need 3 categories. The first one is the builders of the machines, the builders of the automating system. The second one is what we call the system integrator, because the system integrator is very important. They need to understand machines. They also need to understand the production process. So in order to have the so-called system integrator, we need probably to import, but then we need to transfer the technology and also to transfer the know-how from the expat into the local people. So we are planning these 3 groups, the builders, the system integrator, and also the maintenance guys. For the maintenance guys, we're planning a retraining of the existing workers in the manufacturing process, so that they are more versed with the digital system, because they have different responsibility. Currently, they might be working one-on-one with the machines, but for new way, with the Industry 4.0, they will be working on exceptions, because the normal production process is handled by the machineries and the manufacturing execution program. So humans are there to handle the unexpected. So they, of course, they're still very important, but their skill is quite different. They need to understand how the digital system works. They need to understand the production process, of course, but they need to understand how the digital system works and how to make it work if it didn't. So that is something. The human capital is the most important part of this movement. This is the roadmap, the timeline. According to our survey, the Thai industry, they are mostly in the 2.0 and 2.5 categories. The 2.0 means that they are still working on the manual, the mass production mode, not much automation. 2.5 would be slightly more automated than the 2.0, but altogether the 2.0 and 2.5 altogether probably constitutes about 70% of our entrepreneurs, of our industry. So only about 30% is up to 3.0. That means that they have some form of automation and probably some more advanced as the robots, industrial robots. But just a few, some you can count it on your own 2 hands, for these who are Industry 4.0. And most of these companies that has a foreign parent company or foreign affiliation. The reason why they need to be 4.0 is that they have to be transparent to their affiliated companies. They need to be visible. So they need to be up to Industry 4.0, and these would serve as a model for our pilot project to improve the 2.0 and 2.5 to 3, and from 3.0 to 4.0. And of course, we plan the move between the FTI and the government. With the government, we already talked to especially the Ministry of Industry, Ministry of Science, Technology, Ministry of Labor, because we need to work on the human capital, and also the Ministry of Digital for economy and for economy and society. So these four ministries would be targeted to work with the FTI. So that's the end of the prepared presentation. But then I think I would tell you about the Federation. The Federation of Thai Industry was created as an association 50 years ago, actually, almost exactly. We are celebrating our 50th anniversary in November this year. Previously, we were an association, but then a few years after that, maybe about 15 years after that, we were organized as a federation, and with an act, the Porabo, with an act supporting our status. So since the beginning, we have been the representative of industrial sector. Previously, probably there are only a few industrial clubs, especially the automotive club, the electrical appliances, maybe some construction materials, maybe some metals like aluminum or some other clubs. But then we gradually expand. Now we organize into 45 different industrial clubs. We have chemical, we have textile, we have garments, we have actually we even have the gas industry. That means that for those producing nitrogen, oxygen, and all those, these are support industries. We have the steel industry. We have the of course the construction materials. The recently we have like the renewable energy industrial club. We have the of course the food industry. That is the main industrial club. And then we have a spin-off, and that is the herbal industrial club. We also have recently added was the food supplements industrial club. We have the cosmetics industrial club, and for the machineries, we also have the shipbuilding industrial club. That is something quite surprising, because we never expect that we would have a very strong or very extensive shipbuilding industry in Thailand, but we do. And these are all very important, and they each represent a special need and special set of problems that they have with the government regulations, with the marketing, with the international regulations. So these were allowed to set up all these industrial clubs, and they voice their plan, their roadmap, their strategy to the central part where we gather all this and communicate to the government. As the Federation of Thai Industries, we are one of the three major private organizations that join together in what we call the JSC-CIB, the Joint Standing Committee on Commerce, Industry and Banking. We are one. The Thai Chamber of Commerce is the second one. And the third is the Thai Bankers Association. So all of us covers most manufacturing and commercial sectors of Thailand. For industry, of course, we cover. For trade, services, of course, the Thai Chamber of Commerce will cover that. And for financial financial organizations, the Thai Bankers Association covers that part. So we have regular meetings where we discuss the economic situations and the current issues, and also we also represent the private sector in in dealing or in welcoming our guests, especially our counterparts from other countries and other regions of the world. So this is the function that we have been doing. We also look for issues to improve the efficiencies, the effectiveness of our industry, especially if there are certain rules and regulations that seems to be an obstacle for our drive to better compete in the world market. Then these are communicated to governments for remedy and for help in changing those conditions. For the federation, aside from the 45 different clubs, we also have the provincial chapters. In most provinces in Thailand, Thailand has 77 provinces, including Bangkok. But for Federation of Thai Industries, we have the Bangkok as the head office, and then we have 74 other chapters, except in every province except Mae Hong Son and Bun Kan. Bun Kan, we are working on setting up a Federation of Thai Industry chapter in Bun Kan, because Bun Kan is a new province, but it has a certain number of industry there. Mae Hong Son is quite different. Mae Hong Son, it doesn't have much industry, and it is covered nowadays by the chapter in Chiang Mai. So altogether we are organized into different industrial clubs, and also we have provincial chapters who will echo or send in the issues from the provincial areas. So we are both in the broad sense, the horizontal broad sense, and also in the vertical or depth. The depth being the industrial clubs, and the broad sense being the geographically located provincial chapters. We have other departments, for example, the Department of Labor. We also have the CSR, for example. We have CSR for doing the charity work, and also to help the provincial areas in creating some projects that would benefit the area around the industries, because we feel that it is very important that we communicate to the communities. Otherwise, we would not be welcome. Today it's very difficult to set up a factory, especially if a large one. If you go and try to set up a factory, even though you have a license, but you haven't communicated to the people in the area, it's very difficult to set up and to operate peacefully. So you need to blend in with the communities. That is something that we urge our members to do. So we have all these departments to work for us. We also set up different institutes to help us with specific needs. For example, we have the Institute for Industrial Environment. This was one of the oldest institutes that we created to deal with the environmental problems. When our members have some problems with their water discharge, with the air pollution, this institute will help them with all these. And we assigned a number of executives to be there, and also they have an office of their own. They set up a committee to look after the issues that deals with the environment, for example. And then we have the Institute for Energy, for example, because we feel the need to improve the energy efficiencies of our members. We have the Institute for Water Usage. The Water Institute for Sustainability is also set up to look at issues of conjunctive use of water between the underground water and the surface water. These are examples of these three specific specific purpose unit for helping members. Another very important institute that I forgot to mention was the GS1, the Global System 1. Federation of Thai Industry is the designated body to look after the organization, the office, the institute. GS1, the Global System 1, deals with barcodes. So anyone who is looking for a registered barcode to put on your products, you need to come to us. These products are used in many, many places. You know, you go into a 7-Eleven, to a convenience store, to a department store, they all have these barcodes to identify what kind of products they are and to identify the issuer of the products, so they can trace back. Now, the problem about tracing back is very crucial in the food industry, because once you sell your food and there are certain problems, or even there's no problems, but the consumer wants to know the origin or the process of these food, they can always trace back through the use of the barcodes. The barcodes also, we also plan to expand into what we call the RFID, the radio frequency identification. The RFID is a new thing that we plan to use in conjunction with the Industry 4.0 movement, because with the help of the RFID, a number of things are quite possible. You know, the movement of inventories, for example. When you have a digital warehouse, RFID is very important, because then you can identify which compartment, which location your products is stored, or your goods are stored, or your raw materials, or your spare parts are stored. So the RFID is the way of the future that we are trying to promote, and also we are promoting the barcode system for our neighboring countries. Laos, for example, has accepted our assistance, and we have been helping them setting up the barcode system in Laos. We have been in contact with the government and officials in Myanmar to set up this barcode system in Myanmar as well. And I think Myanmar is a little bit different from Laos. They would like to do everything themselves, but anyway, we just offer our guidance, and so that if they accept this guidance, I think they will come online much faster than just go their own. So these are the kind of things that we do, and institutes, they also deal with the human resources. They also deal with the most recent one that we set up, the most recent institute that we set up is called the Institute for the Industry Institute for Agriculture. It's because we see a very important linkage between agriculture and industry. In Thailand, 40% of our populations are farmers, are in the agricultural areas. But the contribution of agricultural products to the Thai GDP is only about 9%. 40% of population, but 9% contribution. That is something that we feel is quite unbalanced. We would like to see a more balanced contribution. And with that concept, I think we can improve the lives of our farmers. So instead of just planting anything, the only thing that they know how to plant, and that is rice. And then we have to, once we harvest, we have lots and lots of rice in our warehouse, in our silos, that we have to go country to country to beg them to buy the rice from us. This is not the way that we should do. We should plant the rice, we should grow the rice that is enough to feed the country, and also some products that we can sell as premium product. Rice consumes a lot of water, and the cost or the price that we sell rice to other countries does not take into account the cost of water. That is something that we need to communicate. And once we put the cost of the water into the rice, we cannot sell the rice anywhere. So we need to change that. We need to grow just enough to be our premium products, premium exports. Then the rest, we can use it, use the land to plant something else. Right now, for example, in Suphanburi, they start to plant melons. And I have tasted the melons. They plant the melons, but they're grown indoors. They have the shade, everything for it. Tastes quite okay. But the problem is, again, because melons has a very short windows of consumption. When they're ripe, then when they were picked, then you leave it on for about 2 weeks, and then you have about 1 week to consume the melon. So if you use the same model that you grow the rice, that means that you plant it all at the same time, harvest it all at the same time, and send to the market at the same time. The same thing would happen. The price would be very low again. So that is something that we advise the growers of the melon that you should take turns. Take turns growing, take turns harvesting, and take turns bring it to the market. In that sense, everyone will win. So that is something that we hope we can do. Many other things we can do with the Institute for Industry for Agriculture. For example, we have completed one mission already, and that is to certify the what we call the economic woods, and that is grown wood, not the natural wood. Because now, if you sell your furniture to a large, I wouldn't say what, but a large conglomerate who sells furniture, you are required to bring to have certification from authorities that the wood is not produced from the wild forest. It has to be grown. So this institute is working and already got the permission to be the regulators, to be the issuer of auditors who will go verify that the wood is actually grown wood, so that they can sell the products to major buyers in the world. That is one that in the world there are two bodies, what they call the PEFC and FSC. FSC is Forest Stewardship. They monitor things that happen to forests around the world, and they were the bodies to control this kind of thing. And we have affiliated ourselves with the PEFC system, and they have already enabled us to be the national body for this function. So that is one mission accomplished. The second one that we plan for this institute is, for example, the what we call the tailor-made fertilizer. Because not all the lands, not all the soils require the same fertilizers. Each area, each ampere, each province, they have different soils. So this device will measure the need of fertilizers of the soil, of each part of the soil. So that would help the fertilizer to be better and more efficiently given to the soil and to the plants. This is the second project. There are also many other projects that would improve linking the raw materials, the agricultural products, to manufacturing process, so that we can add value to it. One example is the rubber. Thailand is probably the largest exporter of rubber in the world. We export, I don't remember the figure, but 87.5% of our exports in volume is exported as raw rubber, either as the sheet rubber or as latex. 87% of the volume. We process the remaining 12.5%. The remaining 12.5% is turned into rubber products, and we also export. Now, the money that we get from 87% and 12% is more or less the same. So you can imagine if we can turn the 87% into the 12%, how much more will be contributed from the rubber sector. That is just one example. You know, there are many other examples. Not to mention the yield. Not to mention the yield that we get from providing good care and the needed ingredients to the agricultural products. One example is the tapioca. I went to a tapioca a village in at that time it was in Buriram. You know, it just so happened that in Buriram there's a place where they have this underground water that came out as a spring. So everybody knows that there's a spring there, but they just use it for cattle, for feeding the animals. Then the Department of Groundwater, the groundwater department, you know, they found this out and they say that, well, if there's already a well there, then we can make use of the water, and they pipe it to the tapioca plantation. They increase it by almost 100%, increase the yield by almost 100%, from about 5 tons per rai to 9 or perhaps 10 tons per rai. That is yield improvement. That's all very easily 100%. So we see a lot of potential of this improvement in the agricultural area by improving the ingredients that is used, the fertilizer, the water, and also from linking, from converting from raw materials into products. So that is something that is the function, the work of the institutions that we set up. So we have many devices, many knowledges, and many resource persons to help our members and also to help the SMEs in the industrial sector. So that is the introduction of the Federation of Thai Industries. I hope that it gives you a glimpse of what we can do and what we have been doing for our members and for the industrial sector of Thailand, and we expect to do much more in the near future. So that's the end of my talk. If you have any questions, I'll be very happy to answer them. Please.
First of all, I would like to thank you for your insightful comments today, but also the many comments I've read in the newspaper over the last few years. Yeah, you quote it quite often, as you know, and it's always a pleasure to read them. As you were talking, I wrote a lot of questions to ask, but the first one I would like to ask is, you mentioned a lot of institution and committee within the FTI.
Yes.
Do you have any committee related to ASEAN and any dialogue partners within ASEAN? Or do you have like a ASEAN-wide association? Since we're moving slowly, but haltingly and slowly towards an ASEAN community, which is probably going to, I truly believe it will happen, but it's going to take a while.
Yes. Thank you very much. It's a very good question. We have actually 2 committees dealing with foreign countries. One is, of course, the international organization, and that is to deal with many multilateral, bilateral agreements that we have done. And one of the strategies for Thailand to improve is to make full use of the agreements that we made, both bilateral and multilateral. That is one committee. The other committee is about the investment and trade. This investment and trade also deals with exports and also deals with what we call the business councils. We have one business council for each counterparts. One business council for example, the Thai-Russian, the Thai-EU, the Thai-Myanmar, the Thai-Laos, for example. So we have many business councils, and each business council is looked after by either the Federation of Thai Industries or the Thai Chamber of Commerce. So this Trade and Investments Committee looks after the business council that we were assigned. We divide the business council between the Thai Chamber of Commerce and the Federation of Thai Industries. So the movement among the ASEAN countries is that we follow the issues. For example, just recently there was an issue about Laos increasing the VAT from whatever to 10%, but actually it's not that. It's Laos has announced a VAT of 10% for quite some time, but they just recently lowered the ceiling, of the goods that you can import into Laos without paying the tax, duties, and VAT. So that is something that we are taking the issues with the government officials and also with the border officials at the Thai-Laos border. But again, there are workarounds, and I think the people in the local areas already solved the problems. We also have another institute that we call SMI, Small and Medium Industry. The Small and Medium Industry Institute has been doing some work to introduce our SMI, the small and medium members, to ASEAN, to respective markets, respective countries, to find out more about the needs, the volume, the quality, the specification of the goods that they need. They have done some road work to bring the entrepreneurs, the manufacturers, to show their trade in the ASEAN areas, to introduce that we are going to be an AEC, so we need to pay attention to the benefits that we get from trading in our neighboring countries. That we have done. The new functions that we are planning is to have some kind of a data center to gather all the information, especially to start business, to find the local partners, things like that. And we have been in contact with the Ministry of Commerce because they have the commercial attaches in each of the ASEAN countries. We're working together with them. Yes? Does that answer your question?
May I follow with a comment? May I follow up with another comment?
Yes.
You mentioned the TPP, and I'm sure the government is relieved that they're not going to follow through because it would have been a very tough choice. Now,
yes.
In terms of trade leakages, as you know, the GSP with the US is going to expire this year. They reinstated it last year, the General System of Preferences.
Yes, yes.
Over 6,200 products, I believe.
Right.
Is there any chance that with the Trump government, who is very much in favor of bilateral FTAs, that Thailand will sign a US FTA, US-Thai FTA, the way Vietnam and Singapore did?
Yes.
Do you see that coming?
Yes, I think that is something that the government needs to push. Now that the TPP is out of the questions, they probably need to push for the bilateral negotiation. But I doubt that with the status of the government, of the Thai government being like this,
Right.
there could be some delays.
Yeah, but Trump won't be so picky about that.
That's right. That is the good things about Trump.
Right, yeah.
Yes, I fully agree with you. I think that is something that we need to push.
I think there
government.
is an opportunity there.
That's right. That's
Okay.
right. Thank you.
I won't give the floor for it.
Yes, yes. Any questions, please?
Who's going next?
Yeah. Son? Yeah.
My name is Pathalapong from ABA program. I would like to ask you the question about Industry 4.0.
Uh-huh.
Since we apply to this one, this trend already applied fully successful. How about the labor, skillful labor,
Uh-huh.
who already in the factory?
Yeah. As I mentioned, we need to have three groups of people. You know, the first group is the builder of the machines, of the automation system, and that requires. Actually, we have one committee member, our committee member in the Federation of Thai Industries, who's very keen on building machines. He's very good at building all these automation machines. He even built some industrial robots. So he's very good. And he said that he has personally trained about 60 engineers already. But none of them are still with him today. That is something very irony, because he's such a very good and knowledgeable guy. But he said that the graduates in the engineering fields from our schools, our universities, are not up to standards in these departments, especially for building machines, building machineries. So that is something that we plan to talk with the universities and also the Society of Engineers in order to communicate with them the need to improve or to modify the courses. Actually, right now, in many other parts of the world, especially in the United States, and Brother Martin and I were there to see that in the School of Engineering at the Terman building. You remember, Brother Martin? There's a department called the EES, Engineering Economic System. You can think back in 1977 or 1978, they already have this discipline in the School of Engineering. That is quite interesting. You know, it's a very multi-discipline. People going there would be educated in many different things, especially something that use the mathematical model as the base. So that is something that is quite available elsewhere. You know, why not in Thailand? You know, we can also create that kind of program in Thailand to build, to create multidiscipline engineers, you know, to serve our countries in each different areas. So that is something that we plan to talk with the universities. The second group would be a little bit harder because we are talking about the system integrator, remember? System integrator not only would have to have the basic knowledge, but they have to have the experience, especially experience in a manufacturing plant, because they need to understand the manufacturing process. That's why we say that for this group of people, you know, initially we probably would have to rely on imports. We need to get the expats. And then we take our own guys who has the necessary basic knowledge and assign them to work with these experts in order to build in a short time to build this kind of people, you know. And the third type is the maintenance guy. And this is the part where I mentioned that we will probably have to retool, reskill, retrain all these workers in the field. You know, they're already employed by entrepreneurs, by manufacturing plants, but they need to reset their skill set. That is something that we talk to the Department of Labor, กระทรวงแรงงาน about. We plan to have about 100,000 people, you know, in this conversion. Yeah. So, with their conventional mechanism, you know, of training, They can probably train a class of about maximum 100. You know how many classes you need? 1,000 classes, to get 100,000 people per year. It's impossible. So they were thinking about, the cooperation was that we would be identifying the skills needed for this maintenance, for this digital maintenance. Department of Labor, the Ministry of Labor would be providing the budget and also the manpower and everything for the training. So we said that we need 100,000. They said no way we can produce 100,000. So we are thinking about what they call MOOC. Have you heard of MOOC? The MOOC, what they call the massive online open courses that is provided by many universities around the world. They were thinking about this MOOC. They might be able to develop it in the Ministry of Labor and then put it online so that anyone can access. That is the mechanism that we are pondering. We are working together with the Ministry of Labor so that we can turn these people from their regular job, regular skill, into a 4.0 skill, 4.0 job. That is something that we plan to do. Of course, it will take some time, but of course, we don't, as the Prime Minister said, we don't leave anyone behind. If they don't want to be left behind, that is. I hope that answers your question. All right. Yes?
Good afternoon. My name is Jose. I'm doing MPA here. My question is a joining question.
Yes.
The Industry 4.0, how will it affect the unemployment rate?
Well, we still don't know quantitatively. My guess is that the movements, the conversion from the existing industry mode to 4.0 would not be so quickly. So there would be time for existing workers to retire or to build another career. Now a number of companies has already offered training, but these training are not necessarily related to their work, to their present work. So they can train in any kind of field, any kind of skill that they want to prepare themselves. One day when they find that they're not satisfied with the work, or they're not willing to be retrained, to reskilled, then they have their own skill set, the new one that they learn through the training of the company. So we don't expect the unemployment to be so much affected. However, we expect the number of entrepreneurs to spring up. These people, if they don't want to retrain, they don't want to be reskilled, then they probably want to be entrepreneurs on their own rights. So that is something that I imagine that would happen. But still, there would be, because Thailand has a lot of opportunities, especially for the agricultural sector. Thailand has a base in the agricultural sector, so they can easily switch to startups in agriculture. If they already have a base there, then that's fine. They can build a career of their own, especially if we provide them with the right tools to excel in the agricultural area. Right? Yes. Yeah. And especially now is the right time to do it. Why? Because we're still relying on so many foreign laborers, foreign workers. They would, they would find that one day they will go back to their countries. When, for example, Myanmar is opening up very, very quickly, and so one day will come when the conditions in Myanmar would require that all these expats, all these foreign workers return to their countries, just like Vietnam. Vietnam, they have all the Vietnam people all over the world, during the war days. But now they are all back inside Vietnam to build their countries. I expect the same to be to happen in Myanmar. So once they go back, now what happened? many factories, many workplaces will be devoid of all these workers. So they have to be prepared, to be equipped with the automations and everything. Right? Yes? Any other
Patty,
questions?
Katie has a question. Come.
Yes, please.
Our young friend from Myanmar. Go ahead. Professor Jean, thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Good evening, sir. Thank you for explanation.
Yes.
Yes, I'm from Myanmar.
Yes.
And I would like
I
to...
hope what I said about Myanmar is correct.
Yes, recently you said it. And I would like to ask some ideas from you regarding the FTI between Thai and Myanmar.
Yeah.
As you know, PTT in oil and gas industry,
Yeah.
and CP in food and beverage, and mistings for the cosmetic sector, it's already in Myanmar before the FDI things for 2007 from EU countries.
Mm-hmm.
Right? As you know, Myanmar is the most interested country for the EU company in 2017.
EU.
Europe.
Europe, yeah. Okay.
Europe countries.
Right. Okay.
Yes, most of the country would like to come in Myanmar.
Yes.
Yes. So in this point, which industry sectors would be face difficulty for Thailand, and because of this competitive, and how will you overcome this?
Oh, you mean the EU the industries from EU will be moving into China to invest in China, right? I mean Myanmar.
Myanmar.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
And they would be competing with the industry in Thailand.
They will compete with the industry in Myanmar with Thailand, because PTT it's from Thailand in Myanmar.
Yeah.
And CP Group also in Myanmar.
CP, yeah.
Yes,
Food.
but anyway, they came to Myanmar regarding about the Burger Kings or McDonald's, something like that. So they have to compete with those companies. So what will you expect those difficulties?
Well, I expect that the companies from EU would be concentrating on manufacturing for exporting back to EU, because they would be more familiar with the markets there, and they would probably find a manufacturing base for their products to be exported back to EU, and that would be good, because that would actually complement to the work conditions and developments in Myanmar, and I think that. The PTT, of course, is very heavily invested in Myanmar, but they are in the energy field, so their markets is actually for Thailand and also for Myanmar. Once I was joining dinner with the former premier, Thein Sein. You know, he was saying in that meeting. There are also representatives from PTT at that dinner. He said that we are very happy that PTT is developing the energy sector in Myanmar. But for future projects, please leave some gas from petroleum products for the Myanmar people to use. You know, he was afraid that PTT is going to get all the oil and gas and to send it over to Thailand. I think PTT these days, they are not only working on oil and gas. They are also working on petrochemicals products, such as some kind of plastics. They're also very keen. So it's possible that they would be branching into that, because the gas is already there in Myanmar, and if the government allows, I think they can provide a very good industry. They can create a very strong base of petrochemical base in Myanmar. So that is one choice. But for CP and others, I think most of them would be planning to provide products and goods for domestic consumption in Myanmar, because Myanmar has 80 million people. I think 60, well, more or less the same as Thailand. So there's a big room, for increasing consumption in Myanmar. Once the income of the people of Myanmar increase, then the purchasing power would increase quite a lot. And so I think that's the purpose of the CP Group. They go there in order to grow with the purchasing power of the people of Myanmar. So that would be the target. In food, I think they are very integrated. And in food, I think CP is quite ready to compete in the world scale. So I'm not worried for CP. They would be on their own, but I think they would fare quite well in the competition. So any other companies going into Myanmar, I think I've urged a number of companies, for example, the SCG. You know the SCG, right? The Sam Cement. Yes, they're also very keen to set up facilities in Myanmar. And I think they already did. And Myanmar would have a very big demand for cements and construction materials. So, for all these infrastructures, for road, for transportation, for anything, So there's a huge opportunity for SCG over there. And being so close to Thailand, I think they can dispatch people, they can communicate, they can go there. Being in the same time zone is very simple, very, very convenient. So I think SCG will also do well in Myanmar, and I have been urging them to go to expand into many other things as well. SCG is also into the petrochemical business as well. So I think the more the merrier. That would be better actually for the economy of Myanmar as well. Yes. Right? Please.
Our friend from Iran.
Yeah. Very good.
Hi, I'm MMODS students from Iran.
Yes.
And I would like to ask you a more general question.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned about the corporation in Middle East, in industry, and I would like to know how do you evaluate the impact, and if we want to apply it in Thailand with other communities, what would be the more significant potential areas? Yeah, this is my question.
Well, initially, the Middle East countries, they are the source of the many of the petrochemical products that we use. So with the trend of electricity generation in Thailand, I think we would need much more liquefied natural gas from the area, from Middle East. Because in Thailand, the resource in the Gulf of Thailand is depleting. So we would probably need to replace the source from the Gulf of Thailand with the imported liquefied natural gas. That is one area. The second one would also be, I think, the constructions. Thailand has a number of companies who are very strong in constructions. And the Middle East area has a lot of potentials for buildings, roads, and many other infrastructures, airports, for example. So it would be a very good opportunity for the Thai construction companies to go there. And I believe that some construction company had already joined the Deputy Prime Minister Somkit, when they brought a group of people to Iran. Actually, I was scheduled to go to Iran during the middle of December last year, but it was too close to the New Year, so many people who we expect to join us got busy. So we're still very keen. We're still very keen on going to Iran, and with the new route of the Thai Airways, is much more convenient. And we expect the traffic between Iran and Thailand to be even more in the future. So we can cooperate in many things. Of course, the food industry is one, very obvious one, and energy industry is the second. There's still many other things, chemicals, or even some materials for industry, even the automotive industry. We have very strong support industry for parts, automobile parts, and especially for the aftermarkets. So many areas for opportunities for cooperation.
Well, I'm sure that we would have a million more questions, but His Excellency Chen Namchai Siri has been with us. He's really expended a lot of energy. He shared with us tremendous amount of knowledge. I would like all of us to please stand up and give him our thanks. Let's applaud His Excellency.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm very honored, and I'm very happy to be here. And well, hopefully you find what I presented something that you can refer to, something that you can use, something you can think upon. And I think if there's an opportunity, I would like to very much to welcome all of you at the Federation of Thai Industries if you have the opportunities. We can show you all the actually there's not much to show, just the library and the workspace, and of course the people who work at different institutes. We also have Institute for Recycling, for example. It's very relevant. I would like to tell you that it's very relevant to the current issue. So we are very much in the center of the current issues. So anything you can think of, you can suggest, that we go into those issues to look for ways that we can contribute to the country and also to the society. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Kun Chen. Now, there is a little ceremony, at this point of time, okay? And I'm going to ask Nong Lee to first